So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Hands On. My name is Alana, and I'm from the Innovation Cluster. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Innovation Cluster, we're a not-for-profit organization that supports startups working in innovation and technology. So we do so by offering advisory services, access to partners, and workshops such as this one. We encourage you to apply if you have an innovative idea or a startup working in technology, and you can do that by going to www.innovationcluster.ca. So again, welcome to Hands On, Understanding SR&ED Credits and Research Funding with BOAST and a special guest speaker, the National Research Council of Canada. So today you'll be hearing about funding and tax credits based on innovation and research projects, such as your businesses. There is a lot to cover today, so we're going to jump right into it by starting with Doug from NRC Irap, and then we're going to pass it over to Carlos from BOAST. So I'll start now with Doug.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can see my presentation full screen. So I am with the Industrial Research Assistance Program, and we're part of the National Research Council of Canada. We have the two differentiations. The NRC has all of the researchers and facility networks across Canada, and we're more based in the communities to provide advice and technology funding for clients. So just a quick overview of the different organizations in the NRC. There's digital technologies, emerging technologies, engineering, life sciences, and transportation and manufacturing. And NRC was quite involved with the vaccine development and getting a new facility being built in Quebec for COVID vaccines and other mRNA opportunities. So IRAP as an organization helps small and medium-sized businesses grow. The mandate is to stimulate wealth creation in Canada through innovation, accelerate the growth of small, medium enterprises, and SME is defined as under 500 employees, and to be the most impactful program of its kind in the world. Many other programs around the world have been modeled after the NRC IRAP program, and this year is our 75th year in operation. NRC as a whole has been in operation for 100 years now. So I'm an industrial technology advisor, ITA for short. We all have private sector experience, typically later in our careers, that we can be both advisors for business and technology. Most of us have a background in engineering and science, and now I believe there's 260 of us across Canada. My background, I'm a professional engineer in manufacturing, process, lean, quality. So we provide advice as the first round of discussion, defining and understanding what the company has for challenges and opportunities, helping them with connections and other organizations and advice, and also funding of projects that are R&D focused. We serve over 8,000 clients annually, and we're linked to the worldwide innovation change, and we can help companies work on international projects that are shared between 2 or more companies and countries. And we also have a youth employment program. So our services provide technical and business advice to firms. We provide referrals to other government programs and services, and linkages and networking with appropriate experiences. We also have direct connection to the NRC research centers for their use in projects. And we also have some ability to provide strategic intelligence information. So when it comes to who we work with as companies, they have to be incorporated as a small, medium enterprise in Canada with less than 500 employees, with an objective to grow through innovation. And as part of what we provide, we do assessments of the business to help understand the business opportunities, what the management and financial capabilities are, and what potential is possible through work and funding. And it's important that the company has to plan to commercialize what they're developing. It's not just empirical research for the information on its own. So that's a quick overview of the program, and not wanting to conflict with what will be discussed later, I've been asked just to highlight a few of the differences between IRAP project funding and SR&ED. The main difference is IRAP is a competitive merit-based program where it's assessed on the merits of each project, whereas, and it's non-repayable funding, supporting a portion of the technical R&D labor in a project, where SR&ED, if the company meets the requirements of the program, it's an obligatory program that you qualify for. SR&ED has far more funding than IRAP, so IRAP has to determine where the best value is to place project funds. IRAP only supports a portion of the technical labor, so SR&ED, I believe, covers more like wasted material and the likes, and that'll, I expect, to be discussed later. IRAP works directly with the firms in preparing and writing up a scope of a project, where SR&ED usually comes after the fact and just determines if it met the requirements. So it's up to the company to develop the program. With IRAP, the claims are submitted every month and paid within usually 4 to 6 weeks, where for SR&ED, it's submitted annually or up to 18 months after the project work is done, and then gets a tax credit. So it's a different way of generating or returning revenue or returning funds to the firm. And a project can be supported by both IRAP and SR&ED. It's just that you can't double claim for parts of it. So if you've been able to get $100,000 of IRAP support in a project, that is excluded from what you could claim in your SR&ED. So that's really all I have. Is there any questions? I'm not sure if I can see anything here.
Thanks, Doug. I think there was some technical issues, but if you send me your deck, I'll be happy to share it with everybody sitting in.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay,
so
thanks.
If there aren't any questions, you guys can ask at the end as well. We will pass it over to Carlos and he'll get started.
Perfect. You guys can all hear me well? Just do like a okay sign. Fantastic. Let's do this. Let me go share my screen here with everybody. Okay, tell me when you see my screen. You see it? Awesome. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that intro, Doug. That was really helpful. And you're right. Like a lot of companies that we work with at Boast will do both SR&ED and IRAP. They will consider both as well. And that's right. They can't double dip, obviously, because they're taking money from the government, so they can't ask for a refund on money that they already got from the government. My name is Carlos. I work in the sales team for the East Coast of Canada here at Boast. What Boast does is they developed a system, an automated system to help companies claim SR&ED in a nutshell. We can talk more about that in a bit at the end, just to kind of show you guys what we do. But I wanted to really talk about SR&ED and how SR&ED works. You guys are seeing my slides flip through? Do you see I move to the next one? Yeah, awesome. Okay, very simple. What is SR&ED? SR&ED stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development. Think of is one of the largest programs by the Canadian government to foster innovation, to foster risk taking. So really what SR&ED is about is taking risks. I'll say that one of the biggest differences between SR&ED and Irap is that SR&ED, you have to spend the money first. So you'd hire developers and engineers, folks that qualify for a claim, and we're going to go through that later. And you spend money on hiring those individuals and paying their salaries, and then you can submit a claim to try to get some of that money back, a refund. Irap is different. You put a claim together, you submit an application to get the money first, so you don't spend first. In 2020, about $4 billion was received by companies across Canada, about 20,000 companies. So it's a lot of money that they give back. The program has been around, I believe, around since the 80s. And you can get up to 64% cash back on a, say, 100K salary, which is, fantastic. So if you imagine somebody on a 100K salary can get 64K back, it's really worth, putting an application together. The program, like I said, is focused on innovation. It's focused on risk taking. So companies that can apply, they can be both a CCPC, so Canadian Control Private Corporation, or a non-CCPC. So, if you're not owned by a Canadian team and you're, like, say, you have a company in the US, but you have a headquarters or you have subsidiary in Canada, but it's owned by the US company, you can still put a claim together. The percentage that you get back, they vary by province, but the numbers you see here are an estimate across all provinces. And you can see that if you are a CCPC incorporated in Canada, you get better returns for a refund than if you're a non-CCPC. That's really the government of Canada saying, you should hire locally, you should hire on salary, not on contract, and you get a better return that way. And just one thing, I think it's great for, at the end, if you guys have any questions, that's awesome. But if you have any questions now or throughout the presentation, please feel free to stop me and ask, because it's hard to remember something that I've gone through here. So yeah, anytime, just supposed to be more like a chat, helpful for everybody. So back to what's claimable. Qualifying expenditures can include salaries, as I said, subcontractors. So if you're for a startup and you're building some technology and you hire some contractors or a dev shop to do the work for you, you can claim their salary as well. As long as you own the IP of the work that's being done, the dev shop can also be claimed. In materials, so a lot of tech companies are working on hardware. So any materials that would go into building a prototype, and the way the CRA looks at it, if the materials were either consumed or transformed or destroyed, so this is kind of the wording they use, consumed, transformed, or destroyed, then you can potentially claim the materials as well, the expenditure on that. Quality is a little funky here. There's some applicable industries here. Software and development, I'd say probably 70 to 80% of our clients at both are in that space, software development. Some folks coming in also with manufacturing, biotech, agriculture, a lot of oil and gas, but the majority of them are in software development and hardware as well. Again, types of companies that can claim, Canadian control companies on the left, and then non-CCPCs that are owned by another group outside of Canada, or that are publicly, that's the typo, they're publicly traded. Let me just move this to the side here so I can see the screen. Yeah. As Doug said, the deadline to claim SR&ED is 18 months past your fiscal year end. So for example, a company that has a fiscal year end in December 31st, let's say 2020, they have until June 30th of this month to put a claim together. So there's a lot of time to put a claim together. Once the claim is submitted, CRA has up to 60 days to review that claim and get back to you with an update. This is technical stuff here. CCPC, once a claim is approved as filed, AAF, there's no more audits. They can always do audits, but if you're a CCPC and it's approved as filed, there's no more audits and they won't go back to it. But if you're not a CCPC, if you control outside of Canada, they have up to 365 days up to a year to go back and open your claim and audit it if they decide to do so. Any questions at this point? Any comments, questions, thoughts? No?
I have a question.
Yes, let's go.
You've got 18 months past the fiscal year for the deadline.
Correct.
So you cannot claim back further than the 18 months? Like,
That's correct. You cannot.
okay, so it's anything within the 18-month period for spending the money.
So imagine the last month of your fiscal year end. Count 18 months after that. So go back to say FY20, for example, if you're that's why I use that example, because we're in June now. If December 31st of 2020 was the end of your fiscal year, you have until June 30th of this year to put that claim for 2020 together and submit it to the CRA.
Okay, thanks.
So for FY21, so the year that just finished, December 31st, for example, you have until June 30th of 2023 to submit that claim and so on. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. So, what qualifies, like everybody is what everybody's interested mostly is what qualifies for a claim. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a gray area, what that is, but the CRA has determined a few things that they look to try to understand what is SR&ED eligible or not. The acronym SR&ED, we call it, SR&ED. The scientific research, the first part of it is really folks in a white, wearing like a white coat in a lab, academia stuff, because that's what they're doing, scientific research. The last piece, the ED, the experimental development, that's software, that's hardware. So, I would say 80 to 90% of the work that is submitted to the CRA lands on that category, the experimental development, not on the scientific research. So you can see, a lot of companies, a lot of startups are doing that, either software, hardware. So it's a lot of what we see. So three things that they want to see. They want to see a technological uncertainty. We're going to go through that in detail. Systematic investigation and technological advancement. Like, what does that mean? What does technological uncertainty mean? And a note at the bottom here, all of that must be present for that to work. So let's dig in. The challenges that you're working on, they must be of technological uncertainty. So, it sounds a little tricky, but it's really, are you working on something that potentially has never been done before, or there is no public knowledge available that you could, find and resource and use that? You had to develop a tool or a system or a platform or anything that would solve a problem that was unique to your business, to your area. That's the first seed of what a technological uncertainty is. Sometimes, for example, latency and scalability on projects is also considered a technological uncertainty. Although you can probably debate that and say, hey, well, it's not the same as creating something unique, but you have a challenge that is only it's only yours and it's unique to your business. And how do you expand that company? How do you scale that platform? How do you include more APIs? How do you integrate with other providers? So these are all challenges that are unique to a specific business and industry. So that's all part of technological uncertainty. Second point is kind of what I said, we have to show to the CRA that there was due diligence by the team that was working to demonstrate that you couldn't find any knowledge elsewhere and you had to do it yourself. And again, the uncertainty is determined within the context of the company. I can stop after these three slides and then we can talk about this. I'm sure there might be questions there. So once you determine that and you started the work to try to solve a problem that you have or try to solve that challenge or the uncertainty, you need to demonstrate what you did. You need to have a hypothesis, you need to do an experiment, and then a conclusion. Sometimes you have a challenge and you go through trying to solve that challenge. You have a path, say path A, B, and C. I'm going to try all these three paths. And at the end, you've learned that none of those three worked. So you did not find a solution, but you've learned that those three paths are not the good ones, they're not the best ones. So you've had some knowledge that you gained. So you're not going to try them again because you've learned that that's not the right path. So that's also a good thing for SR&ED for the CIA. That's what they're looking for. One important point here on the left is the work has to be performed by qualified, experienced personnel. I mean, that goes without saying, but you couldn't have someone, say, from marketing or HR, be the ones developing code or developing a platform or new tool or new hardware. You have to have engineers, developers doing that work, and be able to verify that to the CIA. And then the technological advancement, which is what I kind of said, just at the end, you have to advance the company's knowledge base by addressing the technological uncertainty. Like, you've learned that path A, B, and C don't work, so you're going to try maybe path B, D, or something else, or maybe path C is the best one, and you're going to go with that. So you've learned something there. Second point is what I just said. Experimentation, success or not, is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've sold anything. It doesn't matter if you have any money, any revenue from the product. What matters is that you took risk. You spent money on salary to try to fix something or to solve a problem, and you've learned something from it. And then last point, knowledge gain, not the end product. I'm going to stop there again and see if there's any questions. I see the chat here. There's some comments here. I have not gone through them. Do you guys want to open your mics and ask me anything, or should I keep going? No questions? Okay, let's keep going then. So in August of 2021, I want to go through this very quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. The CIA used to have 5 questions. They were like super specific about the work that was being done to determine eligibility. In August last year, they changed that to just say why and how. So why is the work undertaken? Like, why are you doing this, pretty much? And how is it conducted? Like, what are you doing to prove that that you need to do this? How are you treating the challenge? How are you going after the solution? In a nutshell, it's pretty simple, and we like that because it's very easy to understand versus complicated questions that nobody understands what they're trying to grasp. Move to the next page here. So the why requirements, was just a few things that we captured from their own language. Was the work undertaken to advance scientific knowledge or to achieve technological advancement? Like, can we answer that yes or no? Yes. If you have a platform, it's new, it's unique, you're trying to solve a problem, that would likely be the case. Is it unknown whether a given result or objective can be achieved? Obviously, if you're trying to solve a problem and you haven't done that before, it is likely unknown. And does the work attempt to resolve the uncertainty and to generate or discover new scientific or technological knowledge? Same idea. Like, what are you trying to do? Why are you doing this? And so if we're answering yes all those questions, then we can move on and look at the how. You did all that. That's great. How did you do it? Right. That's the next question. And again, was this done in a field of science or technology? Usually, that's the north that they're looking for. Is this tech oriented? Is this science oriented? Hence the name, SR&ED. And was there a systematic investigation, so a search by the means of experiment or analysis? Like, I want to read these out loud to you guys just to kind of show you what kind of terms you're using. We use those 3 points: the technological uncertainty, the hypothesis, and the advancement, because that really involves everything that you need to know to understand eligibility. But the CRE is always asking in their minds, like, why and how? Why is this work being done, and how is it done? So when we're preparing a claim for our clients, we're always trying to answer those 2 questions at the same time. So I thought it would be relevant to share that as well. Any questions there? Any comments? All right, no comments.
I have a question.
I can hear someone.
I have a question.
Okay, let's go.
Is my understanding correct? Please correct me. If it is scientific research, it is not eligible, and if it is a technological advancement, it will be eligible for this debate. Is that correct?
So sorry, let me just clarify. You were asking if it's a scientific research, it is not eligible until the work has advanced to a phase of learnings. Is that what you asked?
I mean, are they supporting scientific research, which is also part of it will be done within the university or the academia, and part of it in the company, or only it is technological advancement within the company that would end up in a product.
Gotcha. Usually it's within a company, but there are some universities that have programs where students are building their own businesses inside the company through some research that they're doing themselves, scientific research, and we would look at case by case. It's so unique that claim would be put forth through that process. Usually, when they get to that phase of scientific research, and they're getting ahead of time, ahead of the point of creating a product, they usually have a company already started, and then we use the experimental development angle through the company versus the scientific research. So it's case by case, I'd say, but to kind of provide a definitive answer here, it could be both. I mean, we could do both through a company and through academia as well. Okay. Somebody else is raising their hand. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for your good information. I want to ask, is there any specific formats for these documents, and do you have some special forms or some things like that that we should fill to show you the eligibility? Another question about our I mean that I didn't understand some parts of your presentation. We are a startup group and a startup company, and some of our team members will come to Canada with work permit after I think after some months, 6 or 9 months. So when we arrived Canada, after that our 18 months will start, or when we should apply our claim, when we can claim for your fund. And do you get us some special funds and financial aid after that, or you have some other help and aid for companies? Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I hope I can answer that. I hope I understood correctly. Let's go through this. So the forms, the first part, the forms. Yes, there's lots of forms to put a claim together for sure. I can provide more details after this if you guys are interested. There's one, mostly the main one is a T661. That's the name of the form that the CRA wants to see. It's part of the application. But the way this works is the CRA wants to see who did the work, for how long, and how much they got paid for it. Once the quality, the eligibility has been determined, they want to see who worked on what, for how long, and how much they got paid. So whatever documentation that you have to prove that, to substantiate that, that's what you need. So the reason we exist is because we built a platform that helps companies integrate with systems that they have, for example, accounting, payroll. We're going to talk about that later, where you can track all that. How much time the person has been with the business, how much they made for the year, and what kind of work they did throughout the year, with things like Jira, GitHub that can be integrated with our platform as well. So that's the stuff you need. Your last question, I wasn't very sure if I understood. So you're asking, you said folks that are moving to Canada now, if they have a deadline to apply within 18 months, was that your question, or did I miss that? Yeah. So for someone to be eligible for a claim, they have to be eligible to work in Canada. They need a working visa. So they need, and plus they need to be physically located in Canada. Okay. If you have a team located elsewhere outside of Canada, then you cannot claim them as part of a SR&ED application. So they need to be here. Doesn't matter what province they are, but they need to be physically located. Doesn't matter if they're a salary or contract. they still have to be in Canada. Okay. Are you welcome? All right, so let's carry on if there's no more questions for now. What do you need to claim SR&ED? You know, documentation requirements. Again, putting that stuff together is kind of what I just described. Explaining, you know, what the work was that was done, and you can do that through timesheet. You can provide documentation. It can be anything. It can be emails, screenshots of whiteboards, JPEGs, you know, documentation that you put together. You write, explain what the work was. The CRA will take anything, provided it is in a format that they understand and it's easier for them to compile. You know, companies like us will help you build a technical narrative to explain what the work was and what everybody did throughout the process throughout the last 12 months, which is usually the periods that they look, always a fiscal year. So companies like us will work on that. We'll collect everything we can from our clients and then put a claim together, build a claim, and then go and defend to the CRA why that, you know, whether they should get a refund. All right, let me move to the next one here. So, you know, back to my point, like automating a SR&ED claim, the biggest pain point that we hear from prospects and clients is how much time it takes to put a claim together. So, you know, usually companies, what they do is they will, after the year is over, after the 12 months are done, they will go back and start looking, okay, who worked on what for how long, and what is it that we could potentially put a claim here, write a claim. And it's very easy to forget and miss projects, supporting work that was included. Sometimes, usually user experience, UX and UI is not included in a SR&ED claim, is not part of what the CRA wants to see. But if you had to test, you could say you had to create an ABC test to defend why you needed, why you're building a hypothesis, and you needed that to explain why your hypothesis is going this way, then there might be cases where we can include supporting work like UX and UI, even some research and analytics. So things that are usually not directly SR&ED, they were necessary. If we can explain they were necessary for your claim, for your work to be done, then that's where we would go. So the biggest thing, as I said, is putting all that together. A lot of companies we hear say, you know, spending 60, 100 hours, 120 hours a year putting a claim together after the year ends. And so they have, I don't know, maybe a month or two putting a claim together, then waiting 60 days to get, you know, approved or not. Then if there's an audit, they have to defend it, and then another 60 days to get the money from the government. So it takes time for all that to take place. What we do is we work with our clients on a quarterly basis. So we work throughout the year. So by when the year is over, when December 31st hits or whatever the fiscal year end is, the claim is ready to be filed. So you don't have to wait, because the beauty with SR&ED is getting that money, right? Continue to grow your business, hire more, develop your product. So you don't want to wait to get that money. You know, Boast in a nutshell has been in business for about 10 years. And over the last 5 years, we've built a platform that can handle your claim in a very automated way using AI. So it basically looks at any data from, say, Jira, timesheets, CSV files, GitHub, and I'll show you, all the integrations that we have here with payroll, with accounting, a lot of brands that, you know, QuickBooks that companies use out there today. Very easy to extract that information and then look at that and make sense of that. We do time derivation as well using our platform. There's a screenshot of our platform, time derivations and clustering of projects. So throughout the year, sorry. Sorry, I think I heard, were you asking a question or no? Okay. So throughout the year, we can provide estimates to anyone in how much they've actually accrued in SR&ED. So instead of waiting at the end of the year, okay, we had, you know, 500K in expenditures. Let's maybe put a claim together to maybe get some money back. What happens by using software to do SR&ED is we can tell you in the first 3 months of the year, hey, you've accrued, I don't know, 150K here so far. You're going to get 100K out of that for sure, because we can see the work that was done. So by the end of the year, we know for sure how much you're getting. Not only that's easy to do with the platform, we can also lend you some of that money ahead of time, knowing that you're going to get that money back at the end of the year. Why not just use it now at an interest? So that's kind of what, our pitch in terms of how we do it in an easier way. A lot of companies do it out there in similar way, but more like using templates and doing interviews with teammates. We spend probably 6 hours a year working with our clients, putting a claim together versus, like I said, 60, 100 hours putting a claim together, which is a lot of time. If you think how much money you actually spend on developers and paying your team to actually do work that it's important versus putting a claim together, it pays off in the end. So, as I said, some of the integrations we have, and we're always building them, the more clients we get, the more we include here, because it's always important to continue to build on that. And that was it in a nutshell. Like, I wanted to allow some time for questions, and I know folks have questions about different things, and I also know you guys are in different stages. Please ask me anything. I'll try to do my best to answer. All right, I see a hand going up. Ahmad.
Thank you, Carlos, for the presentation. That was very informative. I just want to go back to a point that you mentioned around work being done in Canada. So I just want to kind of like clarify this. So I do, for example, like have a software development team that's outside of Canada, and they're basically like subcontractors. Could any be of it claimed, or as I understand it, can't?
Cannot. There's no workaround. If they're not physically located in Canada, there's no way. No. Even with the pandemic, the CRA was being a little more flexible. So, for example, you have someone on salary. I'm in Toronto, in Ontario. So someone, say physically in Ontario, but paying salary, paying their taxes here. But because of the pandemic, they were traveling somewhere. They went somewhere for a few months. That was fine. You could still, they're doing the work there, but they were being paid here. They're paying taxes here. But if your team is outside of Canada, regardless of where, even US, you cannot claim any of their salaries. That's kind of the way the CRA is saying, hey, hire locally, pay taxes here. We'll give you a lot of the money back if your work qualifies. That's their way of saying, invest locally.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up on this.
That's all right, Dan.
So I'll just start talking.
Go for it.
You've answered one of my questions about going 18%, 18 months past the company's year end.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of history on what I'm doing. I've spent the last 10 years developing equipment that's never been invented before, and it's used in bulk manufacturing of vaccines.
Wow.
I have 5 prototypes running in one facility, and I'd like to expand. So I'm in the process of doing getting my IP on the product, because 5 prototypes finally have a design that we can work with.
Yeah.
So I would like to get that IP going. And one of the things I was thinking of, and I think you already answered this, is I cannot, intellectual property patenting costs are not included in the SR&ED.
That's correct.
That is correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you first put that slide up at the beginning of your presentation, you had up to 64% cash back, and you had 36% salary, 18% subcontractor, and 24% materials.
Correct. That's for non-CCPC, for a non-Canadian controlled private corporation.
Oh, yes, sorry, 32 and 42.
Yes.
Sorry.
So if you are Canadian controlled, then it's the stuff on the left, 64. Like Quebec, for example, can go up to 69, which is the highest in the country. Like Ontario is 62, BC 64. So this is an average across the country. But these are roughly the numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say one of the things I've been holding off on doing the IP is I'm looking at taking a look at the equipment manufacturing, and it's very, very, very slow. So I would like to put the equipment in-house manufacturing of the equipment in-house rather than using subcontractors, which I've used in the past,
Yep.
with 3D printers and the technology that's available to manufacture the equipment that I've got.
Yep.
Is that because the product's risky and you have no idea whether the market is out there or not, would that then be included, the costs for setting up the manufacturing operation?
Great question. Machines that are built as they are, like 3D printers, for example, you can't claim that because it's like a computer. You can't claim the money you spent buying a computer or a server or something like that. What you can claim is the materials that you use to 3D print the prototypes that you're working on. So again, I go back to the way the CRA calls it, consumed, transformed, or destroyed. If the materials were either consumed, transformed, or destroyed, you can then potentially claim. I'm not going to say claim because we need to, each case is a different case, but potentially claim materials as well. So there are many examples. Companies are, for example, if you buy a printed circuit board PCB and you're building something unique that's never been done before, like a new device, a new hardware device. The PCB itself, you bought it ready, right? It was printed. You just you maybe added a few elements to it, antennas or Bluetooth to it, whatever. That is not eligible because it's made as it was. You didn't transform, destroy, or consume it, right? But materials that were used to make that prototype work, maybe plastic or polymers to make whatever you're building feasible for a test, for you to have a prototype, a working prototype, that can be claimed.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed your presentation a lot.
Thank you. If you guys have any other questions,
yes, we have some question. It's also about equipment.
Let's do it.
I wrote this question on the chat, but okay. When you want to bring some new equipment to Canada, you need to have some audits. It's like pre-start health and safety review, and electrical safety code compliance. And later you have to make some remodeling. Can all these expenses be included in SR&ED?
No, you can only include so getting approval for machines and materials to bring to Canada are not part of SR&ED. Part of SR&ED is the work that you've done to try to innovate, to solve a problem. So not the machine itself, not what you were trying to bring into Canada, but anything that you used in the process to build or to try to solve that technical uncertainty. So it's a slight difference there. Like you understand, it's not the machine itself, but what the machine produced to try to solve the challenge that is eligible for a claim, supposedly eligible, based, again, case by case. Does that make sense? It's like a slight distinction. I want to make sure it's clear. It's not. So, for example, a great example is our computers. Buy a bunch of computers, PCs or Macs, to do the development of the work. The machines itself, they're not eligible for a claim. What is eligible is the salary spent by a developer and engineer creating the work to put that together. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. They're great questions, guys. And I, usually these are the questions that I hear when I'm talking to folks interested in SR&ED and trying to learn more about SR&ED. SR&ED is a very big beast. There's a lot of nuances, but it's very tameable. It's very very easy to understand once you get pass through all that new knowledge and new things that are coming your way. It is very manageable, and we see a lot of great results. Like over the years, I think over the last 10 years, we brought roughly $300 million back to our clients in refunds. Like it's a great process, and not only happy to be building a business that's successful. We're also very, a lot of the folks that work at BOAST feel purpose in helping companies scale and get money from the government that they're actually entitled to help them continue to grow. So Yeah, that's how we see it. Like if you have a business and you have work that is eligible, let's work together to build a claim, to build a technical narrative that we can defend to the CRA to try to get some money. So, for example, prototypes, machines for vaccine in bulk. Yeah, we can potentially look at that. There might be something in there. Let's dig in. Let's understand what is being built. What is this problem that's being tried that we're trying to solve here, to see, okay, has this been done by anyone else? No, it hasn't. Is this knowledge available anywhere? No, it's not. We had to create this ourselves to try to solve this particular problem. No one else has ever done it. Then yeah, we might have enough there to defend. Is the company a CCPC? Yes, they are. How much expenditure do they have? Is the work all done in Canada? Like things like that we would normally ask. What's the fiscal year? Is there a potential to do a dual year claim? So maybe FY21 and FY22. I was working with a client yesterday who brought to me their need to put a claim together, and they finished last year. Their fiscal year end is December 31st. So they have a claim that they want to put together for FY21 and one that they want to do for FY22. So they want to work with us to put the claim last year forward and then finish this year and then put another claim. So we're going to put a dual year claim together instead of one and then another. So they're going to work with us throughout this year, still catch up on the work that was done last year and so far this year, and then move forward and finish by December. So there's many ways to do it. I would encourage everyone to ask questions and at least jump on a call with me if you have more questions or things you want to learn. There's my email at the end of the presentation. You can always ping me or text me on LinkedIn. Look me up. I'm more than happy to chat with everyone.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk about our company's case. We are working on an application, adding in addition to a device for dental applications.
Okay.
These two, the device is matched with our application. So we made the prototype, and we have we made some of these tools. However, when we come to Canada, we need the space, we need some equipments to manufacture our devices and develop it. And also maybe sometimes we need some market research and also technical support. What can you do to help us in our case?
Yeah, SR&ED would not be the best program at that stage. So SR&ED would be at the best program at the stage when you already have a team working, when they're already on full salary and you have a facility where these guys are working on. I would say I believe Irap could be a potential there. If Doug is still online, maybe you can jump in and help answer that. But there are other programs as well that can help in terms of providing you with assistance. Maybe a location. A lot of incubators. Yeah. So SR&ED would not be the best one to go for in that case.
You mean that we should have when we want to develop our factory or our business, we can get help from you. But at the beginning and when we are a startup group and a startup company, we should get some supports and helps from Irap. Yes, and
yeah. The Canadian government has a lot of programs for companies in various stages, like companies that are in stages like yours that are just starting up, companies that are advanced like SR&ED, Irap, for example, like Doug was just describing. There's so much available out there. Usually I am always surprised by how much there is out there. It's just a matter of learning more about it, kind of trying to understand what's best for each stage that you are in, and then going after that. Feel free to send me an email if you have more questions. Happy to talk more about it and provide you some guidance in that area. You're welcome.
All right, I don't think there's any more questions. And as Carlos said, if you want to get in touch with him, his email is right there on the screen and I can connect you with him as well if you don't have his contact information. This workshop was recorded, so it will be posted to our YouTube, so you'll be able to refer back to that. And then I can share the decks as well with you if you want to look back on that. So thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us. Thank you so much to Carlos and Doug for taking the time to facilitate. We will see you guys on our next workshop. Stay tuned to social media so you can register. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.